Welcome back to College Sports Revived, everyone. Today we begin a new journey, a Madden 21 GM franchise rebuild. You guys might be asking, what's a GM franchise rebuild? Well, as you may know, my sports gaming channel is all about realism and following the journeys of the players within my series, and that's exactly what a GM franchise rebuild will focus on. You and I will be rebuilding a team together in Madden 21, and instead of me jumping in and playing the games myself, we'll sit back, watch from the press box, and see which players give us the best chance to win some games through their performance and ultimately a Super Bowl ring. Now, this is where the fun begins. You guys will be voting on the team to rebuild in the comments section. We'll start in week 17 of the previous 2020-2021 campaign, and the first episode will be us sitting in on week 17, getting a good long look at our new team on the last game of the season and discussing the retooling we're going to need to do going forward. Afterwards, after the season concludes, we'll turn back the clock to free agency, and using your guys' input, we can rewrite the free agency period and try to either make a splash or save our money and rebuild through the draft. And speaking of the draft, this might be the section I'm most excited for. We're going to be headed back up to Cleveland to rewrite the 2021 NFL draft with the real rookies included. And this first offseason, I will be importing a real draft class, of course, but for future offseasons, we'll be using generic rookies to see who will be the next to leave their mark on the NFL. Now, this is where you guys come in. I need you to leave down in the comments one of these three teams for us to rebuild. So, the first of three teams will be the New York Giants. The G-Men were below a lot of people's expectations last season, finishing 6-10 and narrowly missing a playoff spot in the flaccid NFC East division. However, there's plenty to like on this roster, and there's numerous amounts to reasons to think that the Big Blue are indeed headed in the right direction. The Giants have been desperately plugging and playing offensive linemen over the last few seasons, but may have found a few to build around, including Andrew Thomas, the rookie who looked good in pass pro last season, and Kevin Zeitler was a welcomed addition. The Giants defense had flashes of dominance, finishing top 10 against the run and the pass, and excelling in forcing stops within the red zone. However, the defense does need some more depth, and we'll get to more of that later on. For now, let's discuss some impact players, and I'm sure the first player that comes to most minds when you think of the Giants' third year back, Saquon Barkley. Defenses were suffocating Barkley, however, to begin his 2020 season, managing only 1.8 yards a touch on his first 19 carries before tearing his ACL week 2 against the Bears. However, the Giants line did show a lot of improvement as the year went on without Barkley, assisting Wayne Gallman to 4.7 yards a carry this season. And Barkley will be good to go for 2021 and has high expectations looming over him, with the line breaking through a bit. The G-Men have a solid core of young receivers with some upside. Sterling Shepard's contract is expiring after next season, which is a reason why the G-Men loaded up on receivers this offseason. And former 5th round pick Darius Slayton, he's their top returning receiver. He's been a diamond in the rough for the Big Blue. Signing Kenny Galladay was a great move, as he gives skills that the receiving core doesn't have, a physical presence, 20 plus air yards down the field, and if you guys vote New York, I'd love to make a splash at receiver, much like the real life G-Men. Now let's move to the defensive side of the ball, where things start to get pretty interesting. Former Carolina Panther James Bradberry just finished the first of his 3-year, $45 million deal he received from New York last summer and showed he deserved every penny, recording 3 picks and finishing 3rd in the league in pass breakups. Not only do the Giants have that solid veteran presence in the secondary, but they have young talent in the form of Swiss Army knife Jabril Peppers, who is an old school safety who excels in the box. And I was a big fan of the Xavier McKinney pick. McKinney missed most of his rookie season due to a preseason injury, but suited up week 17 and recorded his first career interception against Dallas to seal the game. Much like the secondary, the front 7 has talent but lacks depth. Leonard Williams was underwhelming to begin his stint with the Giants in 2019 after they acquired him from crosstown rival Jets, but turned it around by wreaking havoc with 11.5 sacks in 2020. He's on an expiring deal, and it's a tough choice to make to keep him or not. In his career, Williams' motor and work ethic have been questioned at times, and you have to wonder if he was only playing that well because it was a contract season. Not only does Williams become a free agent, but so does Talvin Tomlinson, who is one of the better hole fillers in the NFC. but the Giants let him walk to Minnesota in real life. Will we do the same? And finally, you've seen all these moving parts for the Giants on both sides of the ball, but the biggest question mark is sophomore quarterback Daniel Jones. Jones has been under the microscope recently due to his obliviousness to react to pressure and his fumble issues, but I'd be lying to you if I said he doesn't have arm talent. His numbers on throws, 20 plus air yards down the field, are surprisingly strong, which is why I like the Galladay signing so much. Those two may be a dynamic duo, and Jones does have solid rapport with Darius Slayton. If you guys vote on the Giants, then the first question would be, can we build around Jones? Coming up is his last year on his rookie contract, so if he doesn't take another step in the upcoming season in the right direction, then we do have the option to go a different route other than Daniel Jones perhaps in the draft. Well, there's team number 1 for you guys to vote on. They're recapped. Let's move on to team number 2, and they're from the ultra competitive NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta has a very interesting dynamic to their team currently. On one hand, they have the offensive repertoire to compete against their counterparts in the NFC South, plus a very solid offensive line led by 11-year veteran Alex Mack, and maybe Atlanta is only a couple moves away from becoming a playoff team again. Which leads me into one of two options we could take with this club. The first option is try to add to their aging core of players to compete in the present day, or our second option is we could strip it all down, free up copious amounts of cap room, and rebuild through the draft. We all know this defense is a long way off from even being a respectable bunch, infamous for blowing lead after lead in the year 2020, and maybe it's too late to try to compete for a title with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones as our franchise duo. If we want to take option B and sell off our veterans and start from the ground up, we're going to have to act fast, as Matt Ryan's contract is very backloaded. He earns north of $40 million in 2021 and 2022, and Julio Jones' salary increases to $23 million next season. Obviously, finding a suitable trade partner will be difficult. Even though Matt Ryan is still an above-average quarterback, trading a 35-year-old signal caller who earns $40 million next year might be tough. The only type of team I can see taking him is someone who is a good quarterback away from contending for a Super Bowl, so that might be a doozy trying to move him. There'll probably be a lot less pain involved in moving Jones if we decide to take the rebuilding route. I'm sure you guys have seen the Shannon Sharpe interview where Jones implicitly said he wanted out of Atlanta. And if he's played his last game in donning the black and red, then the heir to his throne will be the hotshot 25-year-old Calvin Ridley. Ridley is yet another former Alabama Crimson Tide receiver who's starting to play at an elite level, tallying nearly 1,400 yards in 2020. He's almost unguardable outside the numbers, and his ceiling is sky high in the future. Due to some complications with his knees, Todd Gurley isn't the same back he was on the Rams, averaging less than 4 yards a carry in his first campaign with Atlanta last season. He's expendable, but I do like pass-catching back Ito Smith as a backup. Bringing in backfield competition is a must. As we jump to their defense, I must say this: even though the Falcons' defense was atrocious last year, they do have individual pieces at each level of defense that can serve as building blocks to create a strong unit in the future. For a while, Grady Jarrett went under the radar, but over time he's gained more recognition as one of the top interior linemen in the NFL. However, Jarrett's been reported to be showing some frustration with the Falcons as of recent, and we're going to have to fix that immediately. Recording 17.5 sacks over the past 3 seasons, Jarrett is a standout talent, and we have to find him some assistance on the defensive line moving forward. Dion Jones highlights the linebacking core and is one of the most versatile in the NFL. Jones is your prototypical modern-day linebacker, undersized yet lightning quick, a tackling machine who can rush the passer. He's got plus pursuit skills and has recorded 11 career interceptions in his 5-year stint in the NFL. Jones is under contract until 2023. The secondary has 2 solid pieces I think we can build around. The Falcons took rookie corner AJ Terrell 16th overall in last year's draft and was one of the few bright spots in Atlanta's poor 2020 defensive campaign. Even though he has room to improve his discipline, Terrell looks like he can become a very good man-to-man cover corner in the future. I've personally been a fan of Keanu Neil since coming out of Florida. He's more of a box safety, has a tall, strong frame, but don't let that fool you because he does have some solid cover skills he displays as well. Neil does play erratic at times, and maybe that's why he's had a hard time staying healthy in his career, missing all but 4 games between the 2018 and 2019 seasons. Atlanta let him walk and sign with the Dallas Cowboys in real life, and that may be a move I want to rewrite. if you guys vote on Atlanta in the comment section below. I got one more team for you guys to vote on today. Team 3 is the New England Patriots. Rebuilding after the New England dynasty will be some tough shoes to fill, however, it presents a fair share of fun challenges for the future. The Patriots have by far the most cap space out of the 3 teams to play with that I've showed you, and as you saw in real life, they weren't afraid to throw some money around in free agency this offseason. However, the Pats do have the highest first round pick out of those 3 options as well, finishing with the best record at 7-9 out of these 3 teams. On offense, their biggest strength is the big boys up front. Right guard Shaq Mason highlights this very talented offensive line, and they helped pave the way for New England's backfield committee. The Pats had one of the better rushing attacks in the NFL in 2020. The skill positions on New England could be subject to change moving forward, and that starts with the retirement of Julian Edelman. The Pats are kind of like the inverse of the Falcons in a sense. Atlanta has a very good yet aging offense and an unproven defense, and New England has an elite secondary with young talent in the front 7, yet a lot of work to do on offense, so kind of like the inverse of Atlanta in a way. Despite having multiple needs on offense, the Patriots drafted Mac Jones with their first round draft choice in real life. I know Cam Newton isn't the player he once was, he threw for more picks than touchdowns in 2020, but maybe we go a different direction in the draft if we pick New England as our club. I wouldn't mind having Newton serve as a bridge quarterback for one more year while we scope out perhaps next year's draft for our new franchise centerpiece. Newton will be 33 years of age entering 2021, and his contract expires after this upcoming campaign, so our options are wide open at the quarterback spot. The Patriots actually finished 4th in the NFL in team rushing in 2020, and while Cam Newton might have skewered that total with his 592 he gained on the ground, you can't deny that Sonny Michel, Damian Harris, and James White make for an interesting committee, but obviously you just hope to see Michel or Harris develop into an every down back moving forward. There's a lot of question marks on New England's receiving core. N'Keal Harry was taken in the first round in 2019, yet has only tallied 414 yards in his first 2 career seasons in Foxborough. Standing at 6'4", N'Keal Harry has always had impressive physicals and an intriguing skill set, but hasn't gotten going yet at the NFL level and faces a make-or-break 2021 season upcoming. Jacoby Myers was a pleasant surprise for New England in 2020. He was very reliable when targeted and finished with over 700 yards on the season. Switching up to the defense, no surprise that the secondary is the first unit that we will be highlighting. Stephon Gilmore has been a top 5 corner for years now, yet faces an odd contract situation. Gilmore will be making less than half of his 2020 salary in 2021 and then will hit unrestricted free agency in 2022. JC Jackson, one of my personal favorite players, he's developed into one of the better pure ball hawkers in the league. Jackson's rookie salary and contract expires this season, and only at 25 years of age, Jackson just oozes potential, and he has to be brought back for sure if we choose New England as our club. Devin McCourty is still arguably a top 5 safety in the association, and while he's still performing at an elite level, you just have to wonder when Father Time will run its course. McCourty is another free agent looking for one last payday, as he's on a contract year, and maybe he's an aging veteran that we should let walk. The only weakness in New England's defensive unit is their front 7. They have some solid yet aging players in Lawrence Guy and John Simon. Yet, some young talent I'm excited for is Jawan Bentley at that middle linebacker position. Bentley has solid sideline to sideline speed and is a sure tackler, recording over 100 total in 2020. Well, there you have it. There's your 3 teams to vote on in the comments section below. The Giants, the Falcons, or the Patriots. I hope you enjoyed this little rundown of your options, and this in the background is a little preview of what the series will look like as a GM rebuild. Remember, in this series, we're the front office, and what happens on the field is completely determined by the players we draft, sign, and piece together. This format is a lot more strategic than your typical rebuild, and my sports gaming channel has always been about letting the players themselves write their own stories. And that's exactly what this series will highlight, and why it's so appealing in my eyes. I hope you're excited for this series, I know I am, and I can't wait to count your votes and see your feedback. As always, I'm excited, and I can't wait to see what impact you guys have on the series, free agency decisions, and all that moving forward in the draft. I'm so excited to rewrite the 2021 draft with you guys. Nonetheless, this is College Sports Revive signing out. Take care, everybody, and I'm super excited for this new series. Time to build up a new NFL contender right here, right now on College Sports Revived.